today we have another special political episode with a very special guest. It's not a Swedish-speaking guest, it's actually a Spanish-speaking guest, but that we will be speaking English with today because of our Finnish elections where most people speak in English. It's un hermano Latino at the same time, and it's a friend, someone representing a different party, but I'm very curious to learn about a few topics from him. He's very passionate about integration of internationals, entrepreneurship, and also employment of internationals. And the big topic that we have in common is education. So welcome to the podcast, David Cáceres.
Thank you. I'm glad you invite me today.
My pleasure.
Glad to be here.
My pleasure. So tell me a little bit about you, for those who don't know you and your story. If we go back to before moving to Finland, because you are a very good role model for internationals, having actually learned Finnish very well. You've been here more than 10 years. How many years? 12?
I've been already over 18 years.
18 years, yeah. So we met a few years ago, and it's been a few years since then. So tell us the story. What was your life before you came here? Maybe something about your studies. What was your life situation? And then why did you move to Finland?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm originally from El Salvador, so Central America. And I came to Finland in 2006, so over 18 years ago. This will be my 19th year in Finland. And
I just have to tell you, I bought my watch in 2006 in Switzerland. I have had a special year in 2006 studying in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So also being a digital educator, I'm trying to not use too much tech.
Yeah.
But let's say going back to the roots of beautiful, important tech. And I cannot believe it's 18 years ago.
Yes.
But
so the same age of your watch.
Yes.
I have been here in this country, and I came to study. And the year that I came, in those years of 2000s, in the beginning of 2000s, it was a big wave of students coming to Finland. I was one of those students, and basically I got a scholarship, so I came to study. That's what brought me to Finland. Before coming to Finland, I was studying in El Salvador. I was in a university. I studied computer systems, nothing to do with what I have been doing later on. But I studied that. That's my background. So I had almost graduated in my home country. But then I always felt the need that I should study somewhere else. I should learn something else in another environment. I wanted to study in English or in international environment and so on and so on. So I had a big opportunity to have a scholarship. And I applied and I got it. And so I was very lucky. I have to always say that I had a privilege that I many thousands didn't have. And I had that privilege, and I always will be thankful for that. The scholarship was granted by the Lutheran Church of Finland, especially from Turku. So this was a connection between, support for youth, support for younger people, and, how people can develop, in their life. So I think for me that was a big opportunity, and I took it, and I'm still here.
Fantastic. So before we go to your life in Finland, I'm curious to add another topic to the conversation. Religion. I know you have been very active also in the community in Finland. Is it the Lutheran Church you've been active in, or can you tell us something about your religious connection?
Yeah.
Because I want to highlight that the loss of community is something that is a big problem in society, and that we need communities, whatever community it is that puts us together. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, well, from my home country, I've been born Lutheran. My family were Lutherans, which is a minority church in El Salvador, in a Catholic country. In Latin America, most of countries are Catholics. So that's also the minority of the community was always very strong community. So for me, it was quite natural to come to Finland and go through this. So definitely I've been working and active and as part of that, because it's part of my values, Christian values and so on. And also about humanitarian values that, that we support, we do the work in the social field, what is called the diaconia, in Finnish. the diaconal work is in English, and that means a lot. The help, right? We help each other. We help the people, and that has been always kind of my call, because I also, when I came to study social services, which is all about social work and how we help each other, how we create communities, how we develop the communities, which is more important than just giving bread, but it's more about how we develop it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, the community is being always part of it. You know, no matter if it's ethnic community or religion or faith community or, you know, culture community. I think there's no limits of what kind of community you can belong. But I also believe that everybody belongs to somewhere, and everybody wants to belong to somewhere also. So it's very important for our society that exists our communities.
So going deeper into the community topic, if you look at beyond the church, what aspects do you think that we have lost in Finland that you can promote also from your, let's say, home country? I know the Latin American community is quite solid also in Finland from my own experience. And I see that we have a lot of family values, for example, that we might have lost in Finland, that we do have still very strongly in many Latin American countries. Is there something that you can mention about this that is important for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very interesting to see that you mean about losing, you know, these values, and I don't know if it's losing the right word. I think our society has changed quite much, and with that also it means also that you have to also remember that the Latin American environment or the American culture in general is very, very, very based on family. Is the big nuclear family, and then here in Europe everything is more individualistic, in Finland even more individualistic in that way. So definitely there is also very strong families here, and you know the connections and so on. But I think it's also our society here in Finland is more oriented to this individualistic way of thinking and also behaving, because everybody thinks about themselves. Right? It's not a wrong thing. It's also not a bad thing, but it's just about like how people like think about their, you know, own career, own life, own studies, on, you know, friends, all their own circles. So this is also something about that, you know. And usually we think in the other side of the world more about we, you know. So it's like how my family is, how my parents is it my grandfather there, you know. All this is connected all the time. And I think here the thought is a little bit different, but it's not a wrong or bad. I just think that it's just something that it might change later on, because right now it's quite individualistic if we think about this. So I think also people sometimes they end up in a need, you know, of really having a community or own family or a big family. You know, that sometimes people don't even have siblings. They don't even have siblings. So this could be the case many times, that you find closer friends, or you find a community that it really will, you know, embrace you, you know, as part of them. And then many people need that. I think this is a very hot topic also in society itself. Like, how much do we need our communities? Do I need to belong somewhere? This is always the big question. Or do we only belong when ice hockey game Finland is playing, you know? Then it feels that you are part of Finland, right? So a little bit similar in other aspects as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's different levels of communities, different things that bring us together. But I actually see it as a big problem. And we are talking about the childlessness of many couples in Finland and modern countries, where I refer to modern as those countries that have had very good, let's say, development for many years. And we have maybe not had the need with for, let's say, communities, big families, the families support. So we become very independent the last few generations, and then I would say overly independent. So we've been isolating ourselves because we feel we don't need each other as much. Because when what I use as a reference is my grandmother's generation, where she was the oldest, almost the oldest of 8 siblings, and her way of being when I was growing up was very different from how the present generation of grandmothers which is my mother's generation, are. So even with that one generation, many things shifted. And then now my generation of parents, even more, let's say, individualistic and isolated from their, let's say, families,
Yeah.
cousins and siblings and so on. So because what my issue is that as an educator, we are trying to provide the best education in the world for a country where we have the best environment for children to grow up in the world. But every year we have less and less children in this fantastic system. And that is a problem, especially when the older people, like my grandmother's generation, are not having enough support from, well, we can talk about the government support also for elderly later, but from their, let's say, children and grandchildren. And I think that's a problem because it doesn't feel, or I don't think it is, human to be living alone. To have this human experience, I don't think it's healthy even. Like we talk a lot about mental health problems, how to solve those.
Yes.
But those are also created problems in many cases. So I see the loss of community also as a thing. And we also know if you look at the technological development, I refer sometimes to this American psychologist, Jonathan Haidt, and his book that he published last year that has started taking a lot of effect in the world that's called the anxious generation, with a childhood, let's say generations of children growing up with a phone. So he calls it the phone-based childhood, where we need to have more free play again and more, let's say, communities coming together again, because he mentions that when we get isolated through technology, we lose our communities. So we don't go out and play freely. We stay stuck in our homes as children, young people, with our digital devices. And then there's actually no supervision of adults in this digital world. And then there's too much supervision in the real world. We don't let kids go out and play. Like in many countries, we have kids out playing, if it's not too dangerous, of course. So these are some aspects that I think are important, but you can decide if you want to touch on any of these topics before we go into the next topic.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's so interesting to think of like how, because I think we are probably from the same year of, we've been born probably in the same years, in the 80s, in the early 80s. And then what I would think about it is that we were born with all this new technology of the days. Nintendo, video games, color TV, all these things were coming when we were children. We had tapes, we have all that, and everything. We have seen how the transition has gone until today. Did that change us somehow? Did that make us less, social? That make us more isolated? I don't think so. The only thing I believe is that we had maybe more balance. More balance, what I mean with it is that we had our digital thing, we have our TV, we have our movies, we have all that, but we also had a lot of, as you said, spare time that we could have with other people. And I think that's always is going to be vital for everyone. It's always going to be vital for a child, for us adults to be with other people. We have to socialize. It's part of our life, right? And the thing is that also nowadays the socializing has become a digital socializing, which is not a wrong thing either. I actually like that idea that we have online communities, digital communities, and so on. Maybe it's not the most, so to say, touch human, contact with it, but at least there is something. It would be even worse that wouldn't be anything. But think about it, like how many people communicate with you through your phone nowadays. You are not alone. You are actually all the time connected. So in that way, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I just think that it has just switched to completely different level. What is our communication? Think about it. I can call my mother right now to the other side of the world, and I can see her. When we were children, it was just cartoons. We were all only imagine this kind of possibility. And now everybody can do that. We don't need to be present everywhere to be there, So this is also interesting what is going to happen later. We have to see the negative sides, the positive sides of it. Definitely there's positives, definitely there's negatives. And I think the balance is what we all need. This is what it will come from now to later. What is going to happen in our future? Yeah, where are we going to lean more? In the digital world or in the present? Because that's also very, very important for all of us to know. Because our children need to have, I believe our children need to have both to know how to control this. You learn how to control. Your parents were very strict to you to watch TV the whole day. But did it happen something if you did? Did it happen something if you did? Probably not.
Yeah, so I had a lot of freedom when I grew up, and also learned how to take responsibility to enjoy that freedom. But I think the balance is the key word here, that we need to find a balance. And now I actually think, and I know that we are very unbalanced, that we have parents who don't know anything about how to be smart with their smartphones. The kids just follow bad role models.
Yeah.
They're getting stuck in a jungle of technical chaos, and they're not using these amazing technological tools for productive purposes, which I think should be the purpose. So technology should not be ignored but embraced, but used correctly. So that's a balance we need to find. And I want to continue with this topic, but from your entrepreneurial perspective. So as an entrepreneur, you've been an entrepreneur, you've tried that path. So before we go into politics, if we can try to focus on your story in Finland. So if you go back a little bit, you came to Finland on a scholarship. What did that then bring you to when it came to your first steps into a career in Finland? And we can also, let's say, try to have a chapter on your language learning experience. I think that's also a key thing that differentiate you among from many other internationals who don't maybe have the opportunity or who don't take the responsibility to learn the language as well as you have done.
Well, I have to start with it. So I didn't study business. I didn't study tech. I didn't study any of this. I came from a background of computer system, which has nothing to do. But when I came to Finland, I studied social services, social work. It was exactly the reason why I came, to not work on the computer. And I end up working in the computer in the end. But it's something I think we couldn't escape. It's part of it. But what I wanted to say is that in the beginning, everything was about people. Everything was about people, and that was my focus at the beginning. How we can support, help people in general, no matter who it is. And this is a big learning for all of us, as a human beings, how we develop. So I work, and I always say that I serve, because actually that it is what you do in the social field. You serve other person. You help the other person of what they need. And I think that was a big eye-opening of learning how the society works in Finland. Because the school also, of course, they teach you all the background about what is welfare society, the welfare system, what are the contributions of society, as a society as itself, how the mind thinking of, I pay taxes, that we all, benefit out of it, that if I can pay, if I can support, others can have also possibility. And that society, mind thinking is so important to highlight here in Finland, because this welfare system has created the responsibility also of people thinking that I don't want to see homeless persons. I want to pay more, that they also have a fair life as well. They can have a shelter, they can have a house, they can live, they can have food, they can have all the basic needs, right? So I think in that situation, we all learn a little bit as human beings also, that in one time of your life you may need help, another time you may not need, but you can also support others. Right. So I think it puts you in different situation and puts you also in a different position. So you learn about that. First of all is that, and I think that when I have learned all that, also I have to say colleague, classmates, all that. He was so interested to learn that from our own global perspective, coming from Latin America or Africa or Asia or other places in Europe, which was also like this, that all of us had different, opinions and ideas of how great Finland is or how great could be, still could develop into even better. But it's also something that we all agree that in most of countries they don't have a social conscious of how we all push together to make a better society, right? So this is the first step of that. So after I've been working in social field over 10 years already here, I felt tired, and I have to be honest with that. You feel tired at some point of doing the same, right? And I think during that time I did a lot of work with immigrants, a lot of work with integration, a lot of work of multicultural work, which is called it, especially here in Espoo. I was working always here in Espoo. That was my first job, and then I felt very lucky that I had opportunity of being an immigrant myself, being able to open the door for other immigrants, to talk with other immigrants, to explain like how you can, make it here. How can you, just get a normal life and understand that, hey, you now need help, but later you will be helping others as well. So let's say like this, that from that perspective, is a good ground for me let's say, to integrate myself to Finland, not just me alone to learn Finnish, but it's also like to understand more how really the society kind of work. And I think many persons are not exposed to that situation. So, the understanding also of Finland is you can live in a bubble and you will never understand it completely how it works. So how it ended to this, entrepreneurial.
Let me go deeper before, because now I got curious about the integration topic first. So let's take that a little bit deeper first. So what were the experiences that you would like to highlight of good integration stories where you could see that this worked, where you could actually give a recommendation to other people to try to follow this path? And then also your own learning experience. How did you do it to get integrated as well as you have? And maybe you can then touch upon some challenges where you see that these things did not work.
Yeah.
We can talk more about that also, let's say, in the political discussion.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that most of people right now are speaking about integrating is just learning Finnish. It's a part of it. It's not everything. And this is also what I have to say. I have been telling to people, not everything is about language. It's a big part. Yes. It will help you. Yes. It will make your life easier. 100%. But it's not all. It's also your attitude, how you take things, here, how you also kind of see your role here, the value of other people and your own value, what you can contribute to this, what do you get out of that, First of all, education. This is a big thing. This is the country to be educated. If you don't do it, if you don't educate yourself, you don't go to study, you don't get a degree, or you don't do any extra learning, you are wasting your time in this place. Why? Because this is really the country to do that. I have 3 degrees from Finland, 2 bachelor's degrees and 1 master's. And I probably even do 1 more if I want to. But this is the thing, that this is the country to build up yourself, to be interested in something, learn about it, be specialized on it, and then perform, right? So I think this is the first step of everyone. They should get into something to learn something. And then the language comes along. Finnish language is something that it will take time. It's not a one day project. It's going to be a time. For me, it took me probably 5 years. It did not go that fast as I thought. When I arrived to Finland, I thought in the beginning, it will take me half a year and I will learn it. And then, it didn't happen like that. But I was also studying in English. So for me, I live in the English bubble for a long time as well, like many people do here, right? But then in the end, when I graduated, it happened that, okay, I need to work, I want to work, but my profession, it means I need to treat people. I need to talk with people. Every day I need to contact people. How I will do it? I don't speak the language. I need to speak the language. So that was one of the things that pushed me to learn Finnish. I correctly, incorrectly, from the street, from friends, it didn't matter. I just had to learn the language. So that was the big push for all that. So I wanted to work. Yes. I was able to work. Of course, I was able to work. But did I have all the tools to work? I had my degree, and that was recognized, and everything was good. But I didn't have the language. But I was very lucky. I was very lucky that I met particular good people in my way. And then those people, like those Finns especially, those Finns who were there in those positions, they knew I was professional, I was capable, I had the education and all that. And they said, you will learn here. This is again the same word again. You will learn here. And this is the key for everyone. I think we don't stop learning. This is a learning process all the time. I'm still learning, So this is something that we all can be in that attitude, that we have to be learning. We don't know everything. It's a new country, especially when you arrive. So it's a new culture, it's a new language, everything. But that learning process is going on all the time. So going back to Finnish language is that you need to understand that it takes time to master anything. It takes time to learn English or other languages. And then how Finnish wouldn't take that time. You want to be good, then it will need investment as well. And that it means also time. Time is the biggest investment you can have in something. But also in a passive way or in an active way. This is the other question about it. I did my studies in English, so I was completely in a bubble. But then when I graduated, we had all these internships and different organizations here in Finland in the social field, and it was everything in Finnish. I didn't understand anything. My colleagues didn't understand anything. So for all of us, it was complicated many times. Like people were like, yeah, but you need to learn Finnish. You want to be doing this? You need to learn Finnish. We were like, yeah, we will learn Finnish at some point. But now when I think about it, they were right. Yeah. So, but the main key of this is that you learn by doing. I have to be honest about this, I never did integrational courses. I never went to integration program in Finland. I just learned by doing. So I study my profession, but then the language and everything else just by doing it. So that means also I have courses, definitely. I did courses, Finnish courses and all that, and everybody should take. You need to have some guidance on how to learn the language, but everything you will learn by doing. It's the everyday experience, communication. I'm a very talkative person, so I want to talk to people. Even if my Finnish was so basic, so little, but I tried all I could. So this is just something that people have to take a little bit of the step forward, People won't do it for you. You have to do it yourself. So even though you can have a partner which is a Finnish, but you have communicated in English or other language, it doesn't give you exactly the learning that you will need. You have to do yourself your part. So being active, learning by doing, this is actually the key of all this. If you don't do it every day, you won't learn.
Yeah, that's a very powerful story. And I think really learning by doing is such a fundamental concept that we kind of have lost. And sometimes we think that taking a course or doing, let's say, the more theoretical education will help you, that they will teach me and I sit there passively and get educated.
Yeah.
But that's not learning. And you have to do, and learning by doing, which actually takes us to the entrepreneurial spirit that you somehow need. Whatever you're doing, even if you're looking for an employment, the employment will not come to you. You have to be doing your part to get into the networks. And also beyond the language, it's also the communication skill. Whatever language you're speaking, if you can communicate and connect with people, you can gain trust with them. And then it doesn't really matter how bad your Finnish or Swedish, which is another language that you can integrate in here in Finland. Yeah. Not still very publicly known about. But let's go then to the entrepreneurial path, because clearly you've had an entrepreneurial spirit, being proactive, being brave, taking your own initiative to seek your challenge. Maybe you had to apply for the scholarship also, it didn't come to you automatically. And luck comes to those who do the hard work enough so that the luck can find you
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's just luck, but I also believe that we all can work for things. There is a different thing of being just winning the lottery or work for that, right? And I think we all can work for many things. We just have to set up our goal, right? Where we want to go, set up the path, how I get there, make the steps, and so on. So my switch to the more into the entrepreneurial side, it was a little bit more when I felt tired, right? So I thought that maybe it's time to do something for myself. I never thought that like this. This came as a result also that I was already working in different international organizations, which I thought it was my dream job, and kind of crash myself into that. That wasn't actually my dreaming job. I thought all the time that my dream job it will be sitting in UN and in Geneva, or helping poor people in the world, or helping my home country El Salvador also in a poor situation that it had. And then but then when I was in that environment, it kind of felt that was probably not the path I thought. It was different. It was very bureaucratic, very tiring also. And in the end, I don't know if I would have so much satisfaction. Definitely satisfaction to helping people or doing a project, but then in the end, maybe not exactly what I expected. It was a bit different. So that made me think a little bit what I like to do. First of all, what I feel that I like to do, and I will feel happy about it. So this was there was something about communications. I always felt that I like to talk, and this was something that I felt that many people, are not that outspoken, especially here in Finland. A lot of people are shy.
Yeah,
So
that's an understatement. Yeah.
Exactly. Many people are shy or something like this, and I thought that maybe I could do something with this. And then at work, I was organizing during that time a lot of multicultural events, trying to reach out people and different languages and so on, and the communities and so on. And I end up doing ads, and I end up doing social media, and doing many things that I was not trained for. I was never trained for this. I just was doing it because everybody needed to be communicated that this is this event or this activity, etc., etc. But then I noticed myself that maybe I'm not that bad into this. So I thought I should learn this. And I went to study, and then it came COVID-19, it came the Corona time, so almost 4 years ago. And I was doing my master's already, trying to switch career into this, line of media and communication, which was already quite big already. Social media changed our world completely, our behavior, our everyday life. So I thought that could be something I could do, from more strategic way, from more managerial way. So I went to study the master's. I studied actually in Arcada University, which is a Swedish-speaking university, and I like it a lot. They were good professors, good teachers. And I found probably the niche I was looking for. So graduating from there, from the program, I learned a lot about media management, and then how our message goes through, how we reach out people. What do we want to communicate to the world? Do we want to communicate, like in the traditional, channels or traditional media, so to say, in TV, or do we want to use the social networks nowadays, or do we want to do it more like in a personal, or how we want to communicate? It's so important nowadays to know how you communicate to others, right? So in that way, graduating, it gave me a big opportunity to think about it, like what happens in Finland. Everything is quite, in Finnish. or Swedish, if you speak Swedish.
If you're lucky.
If you are lucky to speak Swedish, but then
No, if you're lucky to receive information in Swedish, being Swedish speaker.
Exactly.
So
There's very
Finnish, mostly Finnish,
limit.
yes, and maybe in English.
Exactly. And during the COVID time, there was a big explosion of communication problems as well. You know, if you remember the emergency, we had 10 times emergency, information coming from government and so on, in Finnish, only in Finnish, and one small resume in English. So most of people who don't speak the language stay out of the information, completely out. So that gave me the big push of thinking like, should I create something? Do I have the tools to create something? Or am I this crazy to do this? So I thought I will just do it. And then I talked to some colleagues, and then we start thinking like, okay, we can do it together. So we started this Finlandia Hoy, which was our newspaper in Spanish. And that was first of all, was the basic idea of communicating in mother tongue and in Spanish, and for all the Spanish-speaking community. During that time, there was, of course, some English-speaking newspapers as well in Finland that were coming more and more and more, digital newspapers, and so on. So I thought, why we don't have our own? We have a world language. It's one of the biggest in the world. Why we don't have any media, no Yle, nobody was interested into doing anything of that. So I thought, okay, we just do it. And I started doing that, thinking, planning, is it working? Do I have money to do this? No, nothing. Just started with an Instagram account. That was the first step. After that, little by little, create website and all what it comes with it, right? To make the tune of the media what it's going to be, and so on and so on. And many people was interested. Many people were interested to know that who created this, who has done this, who is behind this. And I always wanted to bring something to a community again. It was nothing to just benefit myself, but I thought that let's do something together for the community, something good that will stay. So this brought the whole idea of having something as an organization or having something as a business, what could be. So we were a lot in between that. Do we serve for free? Do we have an income with that? Is it possible to have? It's very difficult to live out of, news. Nowadays, it's very difficult to live out of that. And I think we had a lot of struggles. We still had a lot of struggles. And the last recent time, but still it was a biggest push to go forward. How we do this, how we create this.
Yeah, but let's go into that journey because it's fascinating. So it started with an Instagram account, Finlandia Hoy, and now it's this online media enterprise. Maybe you can tell us the story how it started growing, and then what the situation was before you then started continuing focusing on your other entrepreneurship venture, and then going into politics, maybe even. Maybe not full time, but really as a main commitment.
Yeah. So the thing is that the first steps were, of course, very basic things like you need to build your presence. You need to build your brand. The branding, you know how important it is, especially here in Finland when we have a lot of monopolies. So to highlight your brand, it takes time. It takes also work. So you need to have a presence online, and you have to have a lot of networking. That was the big two, plans of it. Networking and the branding. So how that work it was done is pushing, contact the community, contact other organizations. Are they interested to be, to be published? Anything, interviews, a podcast like this, different kind of ways of creating content. We need to have a basic content running, and then we need to basically go back to the news. What people need to know, what people is interested to know, because many people are living or are living still in Finland, living in a bubble, which they don't know anything about politics or what is happening in parliament or what is saying the prime minister, or what is happening in the social side of it. Is there any other big event happening? So all these questions were drawn along the way. Do we tackle more into that? Do we tackle more into culture? Do we leave our own bubble again? Or do we really connect the community to Finland? Because this is also a very important thing to say. Spanish language is so big. It's so wide world. So in that way, we are talking about a big opportunity to open a window from Latin America and Spain and USA as well, because there's a lot of Spanish speakers there. So, and then bring that window to Finland, through Spanish language. So the idea was to create that. And that was so interesting that do we communicate things from outside or do we communicate things from inside? So we focus more with the team that we build up of volunteers. This is also, I have to say, we built up a team of volunteers in the beginning without any budget because we didn't have any money. But people were committed for a certain time to support, to write, to translate, to do this, to report. And I did myself a bunch of time of that. I did not get anything back out of that. But I thought that this has to be something that it could be a legacy for the country, for Finland. Finland has given me so much already with the studies, with my life, with in general. But this is something I could give back to Finland as well. So in that way, I kind of connected with other Spanish speakers as well, that they were also very thankful that, we can do something for the community, something that is good also, and important, very important also, So it's a lot about that. It's a lot about that. So how we create this window inside Finland, how we create a community interconnected also in Finland, because not everybody lives in Helsinki. We have people living in other cities as well, in other towns. So it's also when we don't have official, publications, we don't have official, news from Yle, for example, or from the newspapers. So then it was a big question, like how people really get to know this if they don't speak at least English, right? Because it's a reality. Not everybody speaks English. There's a lot of people coming here that they come to learn Finnish, but they don't speak English. So there was a niche. There's a big niche for us. Yeah. And I said always us. I never say I because this is also very important that I never did this all alone. I always had the help from the people, from the community, for those who wanted to be volunteer. And I always will appreciate that. Yeah.
Fantastic. And how has that grown over the years? Because I've been living in Finland with my Latin American wife since about 14 years now. And in the beginning, she was learning Finnish on the street, talking to people like normal people who are interested in talking to other people. But then over the years, we had more and more Spanish-speaking people coming. Because we also, by choice, have most friends speaking Spanish in our family. So the need for those who speak Spanish and maybe not so good English to learn Finnish, or even English for that matter, but to learn Finnish has not really increased when you talk about the social need. But when you talk about the professional need, we still have this demand that you have as one of the talking points, or maybe not being a requirement to speak Finnish for any employment, that I want to talk a little bit about. So your community, is it how much Spanish speakers only, or do you also have, let's say, Finnish citizens who are using your newspaper or your online magazine to learn Spanish also, and actually having that as a part of their education to learn from the Spanish-speaking world?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it was also we use a little bit of data, definitely. I mean, we have to be knowing what is our ground here, right? So we went to investigate a lot, and then we find out from official, data from the government is that we have about 10,000 people registered as Spanish-speaking, persons who are being born outside of Finland with the Spanish-speaking language. So the statistic was about 10,000, 9,000, between 9,000 and 10,000 officially.
In the whole country?
In the whole country, officially. But then when we were starting to see, we know that there's a lot of people who are not in that register. So they are a little bit outside of that, number. So there's a lot of people outside of the number. And then we started to see that here's definitely 15,000 people, at least 15,000 people that speak Spanish as a mother tongue. So from those 15,000, we are talking also about that there is a lot of families in that. So when you have families and they have been having children here, the children usually have been, registered as Finns if they have been living here. So their mother tongue is not considered Spanish. So there has been a lot of children growing up during these last decades with the Spanish language, but they are not considered, Spanish speakers. So we are talking about a much bigger number than that. And also there's a big community, of course, of Finns that they have been living abroad, especially in Spain, as you know it, Fuengirola and Alicante area and so on. So they have been living and speaking Spanish and Finnish, and they have had also, family and so on. So we are talking about only them in Spain. There are 30,000, only them. And they are coming and going, and they have grandchildren and so on and so on. So the big connection between the Spanish language and Finnish, it's much bigger than that. So I really believe in that right now we are talking about more than 30,000 people talking solid Spanish, and then probably this number will grow in the coming 10 years. I believe in probably 10 or 15 years we will have 50,000 people speaking Spanish in Finland already. That's what I think, based on those numbers. So this was a very first step to think about it, like how we go systematically forward. Do a media needs to have this, solid, content? How many people read it? How many people, follow? Definitely some Finns wants to practice Spanish because it became so popular in the last years. So with music and, food and culture. Also, Finland has become more multicultural lately in the last 10 years. So I remember when we had the first tacos, in Helsinki, we had the first tacos. I was so happy. I was there making the queue because I wanted to eat it. I had years that I haven't eaten, tacos anywhere else. So, for example, these changes, a lot of people have seen it. And also the first Spanish-speaking, parties where there were Latin music, there didn't exist anything 10 years ago. There didn't exist anything of that. So it was completely Finnish, completely European style. And then when we start to have all these little changes, also in our society, people, like it. People also started to, explore more. It was not just about language. It was more about culture, food, dance, and so on. It has become so popular. The reggaeton and all this is everywhere now.
Yeah, and I think that's a key part also of the integration phase, that you don't only have to consume from the local culture and the local language, but you also share from your own culture, your own language, and you can have these intercultural exchanges. And I know that you've also been part of arranging events, especially for the Central American population in the capital region. We were at one of those and learning, being from my wife from South America, from Colombia. We didn't know much about Central America, and we were like, wow, we a whole new, let's say, basically continent that we didn't really know much about. And even my wife being from South America. So also within these communities, there's a lot of learning opportunities to grow as a population.
Yeah, and also not only that, but it's also like the whole let's say so that we have a lot of communities from different countries, and that's good that they exist. They have their own groups. Facebook in that way, even though it's a little bit outdated nowadays, but still keeps the groups. Many people are belonging to those Facebook groups, which are like by country or by different aspects of that. So I think those are still active and very important. And that's the very first thing I said to people when they come here. Like, I don't know anyone, I don't know anything. Go to Facebook, look for the groups. You will find people, you will find the parties, you will find the restaurants, you will find, you will find what is happening. Yeah. And we don't have official channel for that. We have Facebook communities. So this is also the idea, again, to Finlandia Hoy, how we can transmit those information that people can find it easily. That was one of the keys also, because it's very difficult to be digging in social media, where I found this, where I found that. So when we try to bring it up to people in an easy way, so that's where the communication come into play.
Yeah. So to summarize the entrepreneurship conversation, what was then your, let's say, final lessons as an entrepreneur? You went also to start another entrepreneurship venture. You can tell us a little bit about that, and also to summarize your learning points that you could recommend for people who come from, let's say, the Hispanic community or internationals in general, looking at entrepreneurship as a way to integrate, which you kind of have as one of your paths.
Well, I have to say also that for me it was so important to think a little bit like this. I didn't, when we talk about entrepreneurship, people think immediately there's two thoughts: selling tacos or making tech, right? So there is both, definitely. But there's much more than that, in my opinion. There's much more than that. There's a lot of people who have, small companies having in different, fields, also services and so on and so on. And I think that's also very important to think about it. Like when you come here and you want to be entrepreneur, you don't close your mind that I can only do this. I can only sell tacos. I cannot do anything else. So this is also important to think a little bit like how people really, can do the best they can, but also explore. As I said in the beginning, Finland is so important and so good for exploring. It's very good to explore. So explore your chances, learn something new. If you think you are good at it, try it. You don't lose anything about that. Maybe you can lose money or time, but you don't lose anything. You probably found your good niche.
A good investment.
Exactly. And then, for example, for me, that led me to Finlandia Hoy, being in charge of Finlandia Hoy, trying to develop it. I make a so big network out of that, that in the end, I start to meet people who were really into other fields with tech, with AI, which was coming up, automations and so on and so on. So I met good people on the way. And I met people that were really interested. And I have my ex-colleague from Colombia who actually invited me. He said to me, do you want to be part of this? Do you want to create a company with me? And I was like, wait a moment, sis, I'm not selling anything, But then he was like, no, but you are so good into doing this public speaking and public, relationships. So I think every company needs a person like you there. And I never saw myself like that. I saw myself in a different role. But then I started to understand that actually he's right. Because not everybody has to do that, or not everybody's able to do that. So then I said, okay, let's try it. So we got into a program of incubators program from Helsinki University, Helsinki Incubators. And they have great programs. And he had a good idea, which we combined tech with social aspects. So my part was social aspect and communication, and his part was tech and how to build it up. So what we did is that the main problem, which still is employment. How we find a job, and how we find a job as an immigrant. And that was a big, big question, like, is there a solution? He did a lot of research into that. He went to DIC, he went to organizations, to everybody who helps people who are unemployed, how to do CV, how to do LinkedIn, how to do all that. He went through everything. I didn't do that. He did. But then we discuss about it. How is the solution? How we can find this? Can we use technology? Can really solve this national problem? It's not just a local Helsinki problem. It's a national problem, which we still have right now. So we tried to build a solution for it, and that was to create something that as well AI could help us to do faster, to do better, to do cheaper also. And we tried to do something, and we wanted to create this company which was called Holu. And then we created and we tried to do this platform where people will never apply for a job again. That was our idea. We wanted to disrupt the world with this idea that we don't want these thousands of CVs that people apply for a job and never get an answer. So how we can change this? This is frustrating for employers, for job hunting, and for the job seeker, for everyone, and the country itself. It's tiring, it gets a lot of resources, waste of time. It's not effective. What we have right now, 2025, is not effective. So we are still fighting with this problem. So unfortunately, the situation, it needs a lot of players that this happens. It's not only one player. So our solution was focus on people will be, in a platform where people will be basically ranked by their, merits. That means also like a skill base. So not anymore on nice CV or your university background or this, or you have a disconnection and so on, but it's more about this is your skills and this is what we need. So people will be ranked by, skills and how good they are performing in something. And then companies can find those skills directly from people. So people don't need to apply to jobs, we will going to offer them to companies forward. So that was the main idea of how we can create this, environment of, changing, disrupting a little bit this job hiring system. So in the end, we needed, of course, investment for that. We needed the AI platform to have that. So unfortunately, we didn't succeed because of, funding. We had the Ukrainian war situation and so on. So unfortunately, didn't succeed with that. But a big learning. I still have it in my mind because the problem is it has not been resolved yet.
So I hope you continue with that idea in your mind and that the right time will come for the funding of the idea because the timing is right. I mean, the need is now. It has been growing for many years. And you are bringing this issue also into your political campaign. So if we now close with your political campaign, your core message, you have these core areas that you work with, and employment of internationals is one of them. And maybe we can also bridge private-public collaboration if you have something to say about that, because I see that there is money, but there's legislation also making it difficult to have the money channeled in the right way. And then if you only go with the private sector, you might still reach, let's say, legislation problems and issues that you cannot advance through. If it's like a national issue, that might require some legislation. But if you go to your political campaign now, maybe you can first introduce your interest into politics. So why politics and how did it become political for you? Because you have been very active since many years, somehow with politics in mind, and now very actively doing your campaign in social media and everywhere else. So if you just introduce your political starting point and then what's important for you right now, what are the topics, and then your solutions.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm running for municipal elections in Helsinki, 2025, kuntavaalit. And my three main topics for this campaign is being an international Helsinki. And create an international Helsinki where we focus on international talent recruitment as well for Finns, but especially international recruitment. And we have also employment services, which is now they have moved to the municipality. So the ex-old TE office is not existing anymore. It just moved to municipality as a service. And how big possibilities to shape that. Now is the huge opportunity for all of us to change the role of that, how the employment services are going to be served for all of us, for internationals, for Finns, for everybody who will come new, and for those who are already here, which is the most important, for those who are already here. The second topic for me, which is also very important, is family's well-being, because I'm a father, as you have children. So family's well-being is a very important topic. We have a lot of discussion about Finnish language in our schools and kindergartens, situation also with having, employment turnover, workers going and workers coming, and we have a big need of workers as well in different sectors. It's so important that we have families' well-being and that way the hobbies, that we don't have, youth gangs, that has been also on the last years discussed in media, that we also have safety is very important, no bullying, no discrimination, no racism, especially for adults, but also for children. It's so important that we keep our families, protected in that way. And the third of these topics definitely connected to everyone who is an immigrant, integration of immigrants. It's so important that we realize that we have been having a lot of discussion during the last 5 years about integration and the problem of how people will integrate to Finland. Is it a matter of language? Is it a matter of what? This is a big question always and big discussion. We need to find solutions. But the problem is when we only see Finns talking about the solutions. We need immigrants to be part of the solution as well, because we are the ones who go through this process. We know that which things work, which things don't work. So these three topics are interconnected definitely for me. And I think for Helsinki especially, which is the capital city, is like if we have a pilot, of how to create these changes, and we can create a system that works, it could be replicated in other places in Finland. So integration is connected to work, is connected to language, is connected to the persons that they can be able to earn their money, not live in benefits. They can also feel good. They also can have, progress in their life. They can feel integrated, empowered. They also can, provide for their families as well. And it makes also a healthy environment for all of us. So I think that we need to be the society that is producing, not just being stuck. So in that way we need to develop that. And this is one of the reasons why I'm running, because we need more people in the decision making. We need more people on the table where everything is decided and we have a representation. Because at the moment we have about 500,000 people who are from foreigner background in Finland. 500,000 people already. And only in Helsinki is about 50,000 people. And we have almost zero representation in the decision making. How can that be possible? So we are in a good way trying to find that representation. And then when I'm talking about representation, I'm talking about from the political perspective. So we need to have people who know their communities, who know their backgrounds, who know what is the problems, what are the local problems, and how to solve them. This is a big opportunity.
Fantastic. Can you give an invitation formally to all internationals who might be watching to why they should be more active in the local politics, either as a candidate next time or just voting with their heart, understanding that they can actually vote if they've been living here for 2 years, if they're outside of the EU. From within EU, 51 days I think is enough to have been a resident, so
yes,
to make you eligible to vote. Can you just encourage the international audience as to why they should get involved with politics and how they can get involved? And then you can summarize by why they should vote for you, please.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's so important that people vote and take really the active part of it, because especially municipalities right now in 2025, these elections are important because we decided about healthcare, we decided education for our children, we decide all the services about what is going to be for integration, finish courses. We have all the possibility to influence how the employment services are going to be, how it's going to be run, what is going to be the system in the local community, how it's going to affect our children, how it's going to affect us as adults. It's very important that people really be active to think that they can vote for this and be part of the decision, because this is what we need. The people also have conscious about this, the decision making, and how important it is to have representation. I hope people can also be part of this election, vote and being active. And definitely I hope I can represent most of you in Helsinki.
Thank you very much, David. And then some final words of encouragement to the Hispanic community.
Yeah.
En español, por favor. ¿Por qué votar por ti y por qué involucrarse en la política aquí en Finlandia si eres hispanohablante?
Sí, solo para decirle a todos que por favor tomen conciencia de votar. Recuerden que su voto es muy importante para poder enfocarnos en poder apoyar que tengamos buenos servicios en la ciudad, que podamos tener buena educación para nuestros niños en las escuelas, kindergartens, que podamos tener buena salud, que también podamos tener infraestructura, transporte. Todo eso tiene mucho que ver. y ustedes tienen una decisión de votar, por favor, háganlo. Tienen toda una oportunidad para todos y espero poder representarles también a los que viven en Helsinki. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, David. Thank you very much, and I hope to follow your campaign and wish you good luck and look forward to talking you properly again another time.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.